I'm here with Dr. William Price, and he's the founder of a company called Altadonics, and they have a revolutionary new process that allows a denture patient to keep their same dentures that they're comfortable with for their entire lifetime. What can you tell me about this new process?
Well, John, we learned how to use these new techniques in dealing with some very special, needy patients, mainly dementia patients. And one of the things that our dementia patients taught us was that earlier in their life, they had become comfortable with a dental appliance, prosthetic appliance, and they had learned how to use it, and they had established proprioceptive pathways, and they could function. They could smile and they could chew with this appliance. And then later, when they lost their ability to communicate and they lost their cognitive skills, if they then also lost their dental appliance, like in a hospital or in a nursing home, trying to replace that appliance became a nightmare for the dentist. And about 7 years ago, I was working with a sweet little lady named Esther, and she kept losing her denture. And I kept remaking her denture. And so 2.5 years and 20-some appointments later, we made her 4 sets of dentures. And through this process, it dawned on us that the best denture Esther ever had was the first one she lost, because she could chew and she could smile. And when we went through the process of trying to replace this for Esther, we ended up with dentures that she couldn't really function with. So then it caused us to stop and look at the whole process. We've been making dentures the same way worldwide for over 100 years, meaning we go through all the process to set the teeth and wax and get them right and then process them, and then we destroy the stone molds, and then we have no record of the denture. So there are 39 million dentures walking around out there. The number of dentures is going up every year. The number of people aging is going up every year, and we have a very ineffective way to protect this information, this denture information, on this growing number of people. So we ask ourselves, how could we prevent the loss of that denture before it happens? You know, we put airbags in cars and we put seat belts in cars for prevention. How can we prevent the loss of that comfortable information to our edentureless patients? And one of the ways that we came up with was that if we take and we make an impression of the inside and the outside of the denture so that the impression is perfectly indexed, then, and we can store this, and we can do it with a material, in this case a polyvinyl rubber material that's poured in place, we now have a product that we can archive forever. This material never distorts once it initially sets. Now, there are some products out there like alginate that some duplication systems use. The problem is, as a dentist, we all know that alginate distorts. So if you've got the denture, if we had Esther's denture, we could duplicate her denture. Right. But if we didn't have Esther's denture and we have nothing, we can't duplicate it. Right. With this technique, by taking the impression of the denture before it's lost and storing it in this mold, we can make them over and over again at a later date, and they always fit. Now, we had 300 in our initial clinical trial, and we had no failures. We did them on patients who were normal and had cognitive skills. And the nice thing about it was, when we delivered these what we call clone dentures, patients put them in, they bite down on them, they blink their eye, and they go, wow, that feels like the old one. And as a dentist, that's certainly what we're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. How do you index them so that you know, in this case, you've got a maxillary ridge and a maxillary denture. How do you index those so that you know that the ridge and the existing denture are always lined up properly so that you can get replication of them every time?
Well, see, it doesn't matter. In answer to the question, the technique does it all. It's a lot like making a mold for pottery. We make half of it in one side, half of it in the other in a method so it's already indexed. And so it always lines up. What it does is it just duplicates a positive. See, when we look at old dentures, we think of old dentures. But old dentures are, in fact, three-dimensional objects that are data points. And those data points establish our centric occlusion and our smile line. And they establish the border where the muscles come together and where they're comfortable and where they will accept. And once we go through the rigors of getting that right, we don't ever want to lose that information again. Oh, we may have some resorption of ridge and need to reline. But why should we just go in and redo the whole case? Why not save the other information? If dentists were contractors and we wanted to change the windows in a building, we'd bulldoze down the building and then start over again. And I know that's an extreme example, but what I'm saying is don't lose the information. If you save this information, if you start off with a happy denture, you save the information, then making another happy denture becomes very, very predictable and very, very easy.
So I would think that at this point in time you could, recreate a denture pretty quickly, which is going to cut your overhead, cut your costs, and cut your number of patient visits too. Also.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It does all those things, and it increases the predictability. One of the things that we've happened onto as we've been looking at this question is that dentists, only 55% of the dentists out there will make dentures. Dentists tend to develop negative anchors to dentures. They spend up to 220 to 230 dentist minutes making a denture, usually over 3 or 4 appointments, only to have an appliance that is marginally acceptable by the patient. It takes them a while to get used to it.
Absolutely.
And so the dentist works really hard, and he ends up with a patient that's not really happy. Now, that is not a good combination, and that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult for dentists to really enjoy doing removable prosthetics. What we found in our research in starting off with an Alzheimer's patient is you save their basic information and remake it, they're happy every time.
So you've got basically predictability, efficiency, lower stress, fewer appointments, and higher profitability.
Absolutely.
It's a great system.
It's a great system, and we can do all of this at or below the cost of a new denture, the average new cost of a denture, whatever that dentist cost would be. The national average is $1,050. Now, if we're doing dentures over Hader bars on implants,
sure,
those are very expensive dentures, and we don't ever want to lose that information. But in the business world, we're partners with the MBA school at Wake Forest University. They're a big part of our business plan. One of the things that the MBAs talk about is the value model. Value equals benefits over cost. So you just went over all the benefits. It's fast and effective and efficient and affordable and predictable. And then if you keep the cost at or below the cost now, then the value has to go up.